Hi, George here. In this video, I'll be showing you how to use the Flood Select tool to remove a background. We'll be taking this white background and replacing it with a different background like that. It's all fairly easy to do, but there are a few things to watch out for. Now, I'll mainly be talking about the Flood Select tool, but I'll be covering a couple other things as well, including some generative fill stuff. If you want to find out a lot more about how to use Affinity, I do have a complete training course for this program. You'll find a link for that at the top of the description. In most programs, this is called the magic wand. Same thing, basically. You find it over here under the selection tools, and it's Flood Select right there. Now, the first thing to take a look at is across the top up here. We have Mode. First one is a new selection. Second one is Add. Third is Subtract. And fourth is Intersect. I don't think I've ever actually used Intersect. You have Source, Current Layer, or All Layers. If you have multiple layers, this could be useful. I only have just the one layer on this picture right now. And with this tool, you'll be selecting a color. And then the tolerance is how many colors close to that color it's also going to select. So you want to have a little tolerance number in here so it's not too specific. But you can adjust this to slaughter control. The default is 20. We'll just leave it at that right now. Contiguous means touching. So if I selected in here, it would give me all this white background in here, but it wouldn't give me this. It wouldn't give me that down here. It wouldn't give me this side over here. That's contiguous. If you uncheck that and then click into here, it will select anything that's similar to this white within 20%. And that could also give me the teeth and the eyes up here. So that might not be the best choice for this particular picture. I'll do this at contiguous. Anti-alias means it's going to be smoothing down the edges, and this can really help a lot on this particular tool. There's also a refine edge option. If you have a Canva subscription, you'll also have generative fill available over here. And this can be used to fill that selected area with something else. Let's go ahead and see how this works. Go over here to the right side, make sure you select your layer. You'll see that in blue, and then click into the area you want to select. And there you go, it makes that selection. It's that fast. Now, it does its best job over here on the edges. You can clean that up with the refine tool. We'll take a look at that in a minute. Now, since I have this at new selection, if I click someplace else, it's going to delete this selection and make a new selection where I just click. So if you want to come in here and step through and add sections, you want to go to the add right here. Then I'll click in here, it adds that in. Click right down here and right over here, get those little bits in there. Then click over here. I've now added all those together. If you use subtract, you can then subtract a selection. I'll click in there, take that one out again. So you can choose what you want with your add or your subtract. Now the intersection will take two selections and then give you the spot where the selections overlap. And again, I've never ever had a reason to use that one, but especially never with this particular tool. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at this and we'll do a refine on this. Click on refine. See how the edges are a little bit rough in here. This is where the refine is going to help. You have several options here: overlay, black matte, black and white, transparent, and I'm doing overlay. And the reason why we see transparency here and not over here is because we selected the background, not the foreground. And the reason I did that is because it's usually easier in a picture like this to select your background and then just invert that selection to select your foreground. Be sure where that invert is. I'll cancel this out. Go up here to Pixel, come down to Pixel Selection, and invert is right there. And now the foreground is selected. We'll see that when we bring back up the refine. There we go. That's more what you would expect. Now, if I wanted to actually change the background in here, let's do that one. Go back up here to Pixel and Selection, and let's invert again. So the background is now selected. I'll go ahead and I'll use the refine. And I'll just brush right over that edge. Now, your first brush will take a little bit longer possibly, and then it should go faster from that point on. So if it kind of sits there for a minute, don't worry about that. That's normal with Affinity. And I'll just do the parts of the hair where there's some texture on this. Most of this is going to be looking just fine, but where the hair is, where there's some texture, this is a good tool to use for that. Okay, I've now made those adjustments in here. So click on Selection and Apply. And here's our new selection. And at this point, if I wanted to change that background, I can do that with the Generative Fill. Click on this. Let's just type in what we want to see over here. I'll type in a snowy field with trees in the distance because she's wearing a fur cap. I think that should help. Choose Apply. Let's let this go ahead and do the generative fill. Again, to do this, it requires having a Canva subscription. And there we go. Unfortunately, it gave me a person on top of that, which I didn't want. I just wanted the snowy field in the background. Let's just change our prompt here. We'll try that. Sometimes you have to be really explicit with AI. It's going to try to put in animals and people and things. So oftentimes you have to specifically say none of that. Now notice it's putting this on top of my background layer. So all I need to do is just to make a duplicate of the background, put that above the snowy field, and then remove that background, that white background, and we'll then see the snow field in behind that person. We'll take care of that once this is finished. You see there, I specifically said no animals, no people, and we got animals, and we got sheep. I don't know what this is up here. That's just kind of weird. This could work. I could come in and actually clean those animals out, so I'll leave that one. This is the problem, though, with AI. it's oftentimes really hard to get a nice, clean image with this, exactly what you want. You're kind of getting hit and miss. It's not quite like going out and finding a nice picture and putting that in behind using clip art and free picture sources. It's fast, it's easy, but it's kind of a grab bag as to what you're going to actually get. Okay, I'll close that one down. We'll leave that. Let's go over here, background, right-click on background. Let's duplicate that layer. I'll drag it above my snowy field layer. Here we go. Let's now come back in and make our selections. Leave it at add. This will work for us. Just click in here someplace. There's our first one, second, right down here is third, fourth, and fifth over here. Let's go up to pixel selection and invert, and back to refine, and we'll refine our edges on this. Just run that through pretty quickly here. And all I care about here is the hair. Everything else should be just fine because there are harder edges, and that's okay. This time I'll set for a mask and apply. There we go. That has now changed that background out for us. So you can use that generative fill, but I find it kind of odd at sometimes. But this works. Now I still need to get rid of those animals in the background. I don't want those. So let's just hide this foreground layer, come back to our background layer. Notice I still have my variations available here, but that's okay. And let's zoom in, use the scroll wheel on the mouse. And this is pretty easy. I'll just use the clone stamp tool here. There you go, clone brush tool. Over here someplace, Alt and click. And let's just brush some snow right over the top of these deer in here. They'll go away very quickly and easily. And it may take coming in and grabbing new spots on occasion. Now, when you're working with something that has a perspective to it, like this field does, then you want to work horizontally on this. You don't want to work from the front towards the back. Because if you notice here, the detail is larger at the bottom and it's finer or smaller further back. So you want to work horizontally if you're working on a landscape like this, because that's a perspective. Now let's get rid of all these while I'm at it. Let's take these all out quickly here with this clone stamp tool. It's pretty easy, of course, because we're working on a snowy field. Just fast fix and we'll be okay with this. Okay, I think we're good. Now, one more. Alt click and take that one out. And Control 0 to fit screen again. That's what I wanted to begin with. Okay, let's bring our foreground person back in again. There we go. Now it's a little light on the edges in here. You can see a little bit of a halo right around these edges in here. That sometimes happens. So for that, let's go over here to the mask. Click on the mask part of the layer. Then I want to increase the contrast in there. So I'll come here to the Adjustment Brush Tool section, and I'll choose the Burn Brush tool. This will make things more contrasty or darker. I'll bring my brush size up a bit. You can see right here. That's the right square bracket key. I'm just going to brush in along that edge on that layer mask, and that's going to increase the sharpness of the layer mask, and that should take care of most of the problem here for most of the image. Notice over here, I'm running this at a 25% opacity. I'm going to bring this way up to the top to get this going faster for us. And this is usually just about all you need to do on this kind of a halo happening. Looks pretty good everywhere except really for right down in here. So I'll do my next trick. Go to our background copy, that's our foreground image. And then staying with the same tool, I'm going to put the tool down to 25 again, right here. And I'm just going to quickly come in here and just brush right over that edge. So I'm darkening down the picture. The first time I was increasing contrast on the layer mask, and now I'm just going to darken down the picture right along that edge. And that should get rid of any remaining little bit of halo in there. That's looking pretty good. And there we go. So pretty easy to use this flood select tool, as you can see. Just a couple little quirks about that. But it's very easy to use, and it's a nice tool if you're doing things like I just did there, where I had large areas of a very similar color. Oftentimes you want to get rid of a white background. This is an easy way to do that. Make sure you hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time.